Imagine trying to handle the most complicated bathroom situation imaginable, all while wrapped in what could only be described as wearable architecture. You're stuck inside layers of fabric thick enough to shelter a small family. Your waist is cinched into a corset so tight, taking a full breath feels like a luxury. And around you, a society so proper. They'd probably faint if they ever found out the clever and sometimes shocking methods women use just to go to the bathroom. We're about to step into one of history's strangest mysteries. How Victorian women managed basic bodily functions while dressed like mobile monuments to fashion. Their solutions? Genuinely mind-blowing. Let's take a deep breath, if you're not wearing a corset, and head back in time. Back when using the bathroom wasn't a private affair, it was basically a full-body strategy game. Women had to be stealthy just to relieve themselves. Getting dressed each morning was like gearing up for battle. First came a linen shift base layer to keep sweat and skin oils off the expensive outerwear. Next, the corset. Tightly laced, it didn't just shape the body, could actually alter it. Some women ended up with permanently reshaped ribs. From years of wear, over the corset came petticoats. Not just one or two, sometimes 6 or 7. Each adding volume and shaping the silhouette into the fashionable bell shape of the time. But the showstopper, the crinoline, cage made of steel hoops and fabric strips that could balloon out to 6 feet wide. Wearing one meant that even basic movements, like sitting down or walking through a doorway, became exercises in choreography. Some crinolines were so massive, homes needed special furniture just to accommodate them. This was fashion with structural blueprints. Living inside this wearable scaffolding forced Victorian women to rethink everything, especially when it came to hygiene and using the bathroom. Even the simplest human needs turned into complex routines, planned, assisted, and often requiring a surprising level of creativity. Enter the chamber pot. Far from a basic bowl, this was the unsung hero of the Victorian bathroom, thoughtfully designed and strategically used. Women's chamber pots had specific features: oval shapes and smooth, curved interiors that could slide into place beneath, layers of skirts and petticoats. High-end versions had tightly fitting lids, not just to keep odors in, but to discreetly signal to household staff whether they needed attention. In wealthier homes, chamber pots were cleverly hidden in beautiful furniture. Chairs doubled as toilets, cabinets concealed multiple pots, even elaborate wooden commodes were designed to look like decorative pieces. Their true function, completely disguised by ornate craftsmanship. Servants moved through these homes like invisible caretakers, emptying, cleaning, and resetting chamber pots without disrupting the household's delicate social dance. The act itself, surprisingly complicated. A Victorian woman couldn't just hike up her skirts. That meant wrestling with 20 pounds of fabric and steel. Instead, she learned an artful method, part ballet, part engineering. The key was in the placement and clever handling of layers. The oval chamber pot would be carefully positioned beneath her, while she subtly shifted fabric and structure to make space. All of this could be done without removing a single layer of clothing, no zippers, no buttons undone, just practiced finesse and strategic movement. And during formal events, things got even trickier. Ballrooms and upscale homes often included special retiring rooms, essentially elegant lounges where women could excuse themselves with grace and dignity. These weren't just for show, they were staffed with maids, who acted like a well-oiled pit crew, helping women navigate layers of skirts and corsets to manage bathroom needs discreetly. The maids assisted with fabric positioning, chamber pot placement, and clean up hall while making sure no one outside the room noticed anything had happened. These women were absolute pros at staying composed, refined, while dealing with some seriously awkward logistics. And here's where it gets really wild through much of the Victorian era, many women didn't even wear what we think of as underwear. With all those petticoats and crinolines providing layers of modesty, traditional undergarments were seen as unnecessary. That worked just fine until things went airborne. Picture a lady on a windy day, walking down the street, when a gust flips her 6-foot-wide skirt like an inside-out umbrella. These wardrobe malfunctions became so common, society finally accepted that perhaps women needed a bit more Coverage, enter the split crotch drawers. It's revolutionary for the time. It looked like pants but were open in the middle, connected only at the waist. The design was brilliant. Modest when needed, but practical enough to allow bathroom use without removing a single piece of clothing, and bathroom logistics didn't stop there. Let's talk supplies. Toilet paper, as we know it, wasn't widely used until the end of the Victorian period. Instead, people used whatever they had: old newspapers, catalog pages, soft cloths, leaves of corn cobs in some regions. For wealthy women, the preferred choice was linen cloths, soft, washable, and far more comfortable than, say, yesterday's newspaper. These cloths had to be cleaned and reused, usually laundered by the household staff along with other linens. And then there was menstruation, yet another complication. Victorian women managed their periods using homemade cloth pads and something called a tea bandage. This setup was basically a cloth belt that held absorbent materials like rags, cotton, moss, or sheep's wool in place under their skirts. They had to change these makeshift pads constantly, sometimes 12 to 20 times a day during heavy flow. All done quietly, discreetly, and often without help. Societal rules were strict. Menstruation was never discussed, not even among women. It was simply endured in silence. Laundry routines made things even harder. Those extravagant dresses couldn't be washed often. Many homes only did a major wash twice a year during Great Wash days. Instead, women used methods like brushing, airing out, and applying powders to absorb body oils and odor between cleanings. The undergarments, like the shifts and split drawers that actually touched skin, were washed far more regularly. These washable layers acted as a buffer to protect the outer clothing, which could be extremely delicate and expensive. Victorian practicality didn't stop at home. Public waste systems were still evolving, and some ideas dated back to medieval times. Upper floor buildings had openings that allowed waste to be tossed straight onto the streets below. Pedestrians had to listen for the warning: gardez l'eau. French phrase, watch out for the water, is your only hope of avoiding whatever came flying down from above. And believe it or not, waste wasn't always considered waste. During wars, urine was actually collected and processed into saltpeter, used in making gunpowder. Yes, if your personal waste could literally help fuel a battlefield. Privacy, at least in the way we think of it today, was practically non-existent. Families often shared chamber pots in the same room at social gatherings. Men might casually step into the garden and relieve themselves among the roses, as if it were no big deal. Still, despite these endless hurdles, Victorian women managed to uphold their reputations for elegance and refinement. They created entire systems silent, strategic, and sophisticated to stay clean, composed, and dignified under nearly impossible conditions. They developed techniques and social protocols to help them navigate daily challenges while still meeting the rigid expectations of their time, managing basic bodily functions while essentially wearing portable architecture. It took a level of ingenuity that's hard to overstate. Victorian women crafted solutions that were not only discreet and functional, but also surprisingly effective. Though they may seem strange today, this glimpse into their bathroom routines offers a deeper look into the values and social dynamics of the era. Revealing the immense pressure to maintain appearances, it's a powerful reminder that people have always adapted to their environment. Even when the odds-in outfits were stacked against them, these women were problem-solving pioneers, finding ways to function in a world where even the simplest tasks were made maddeningly complex. What's even more fascinating is how these complex rituals became normalized. Accepted as just another part of everyday life, Victorian women moved through their days with military-like precision, coordinating clothing, schedules, and bodily needs like a tactical operation. They had to plan ahead, calculating how long they could go without facilities, watching how much they drank, and often teaming up with other women for support. The mental strength it took to stay composed through formal dinners, endless small talk, and dances all while navigating a steel cage of clothing, staggering. A bathroom emergency wasn't just inconvenient. It was a full-scale logistical challenge requiring timing, assistance, and absolute discretion. Mothers taught daughters the secrets of managing the wardrobe. Servants became masters of subtlety, helping without ever drawing attention, even among friends. Women developed silent signals and codes to communicate personal needs without breaking social etiquette. This quiet network of shared knowledge kept the system running smoothly and ensured no one lost face in public. There was also a huge economic side to all this. Wealthy households employed teams of people just to manage the clothing demands of the women. Laundry maids, dressmakers, seamstresses worked behind the scenes to keep the machinery of Victorian fashion moving. The effort and labor needed just to keep one well-dressed woman looking